In 1985, a high school senior from Texas was invited to speak at a youth rally at the Park Plaza Church of Christ in Tulsa. He was paid $30. They misspelled his name on the program and the cassette, and when he got home he discovered, and this is true, the Park Plaza Church had forgotten to sign his check.
Folks, what is the church? Is it this brick and mortar that can be gone any second, never to return? Or is it your ability to love the people sitting next to you right now?
The story really begins in the early 60s.
Ich bin ein Berliner.
By the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today.
A group of families at 10th and Rockford, along with the East Side, were committed to move. They formed 29th and Yale, and they were looking at establishing another congregation as 29th and Yale became self-sufficient.
That other congregation took off in July of 1963. With Tulsa still booming, dozens of men and women decided to head south and bring the Church of Christ with them. Women like May Alexander, whose husband could make a fedora look cool before Justin Timberlake was even born. And on that first Sunday, 75 of them huddled into the gymnasium of Key Elementary School. And the 57th and Irvington Church of Christ had begun. Or maybe it was the 57th and Darlington Church of Christ. For a while there, nobody seemed to know what the name of the congregation was. Finally, somebody bought a stamp that said 57th and Irvington, and with that capital investment, the name stuck. In the first church bulletin, in all capital letters, the church thanked the other congregations that had helped them out. But some of the keys on the typewriter didn't seem to work so well, and by the next week, they had upgraded to a new typewriter. But more importantly, 5 more people showed up. The first membership roll barely covered half a page, with plenty of blank spaces to write in new members. When they passed it around again, people were writing in the margins, and more people started driving south. Within a few months, the bulletin declared that this was just a temporary location. And so did the sign outside. In about a year, when Wayman Miller with his wife Naomi became the first full-time minister, the little church inside the grade school gym suddenly wasn't so little. And everyone knew it was time to move. But there was a huge problem. No bank was willing to loan money to the 57th and Irvington Church.
We weren't able to borrow money as we were just a new congregation. And in order to secure the loan, one of our members, Roland and Flora Bustring, put their property up as collateral.
And with the Bustrings' help on the church's first anniversary, they announced their new name. And with that, the Park Plaza Church of Christ was on the move. In August of 1965, 7 men whose eyeglass frames were whiter than their neckties grabbed a shovel. 2 guys in fedoras pulled out blueprints. Another guy in a fedora started laying bricks. They raised the roof, raised up prayers, and raised up columns. And in February of 1966, the building was dedicated to a packed house. But this building had only begun. 9 years later, in the 70s, when it was time to build out again, they didn't want a bank telling them no, and they had so many volunteers to sell church bonds, it might have made more sense for them to sell Amway. But you know what they got? They got an auditorium that could seat the Key Elementary congregation 13 times over. There it is, shortly after it was built. But with time comes change, and while we grieve that the church has permanently lost its front lawn, we take comfort in the fact that the elders no longer wear white shoes and leisure suits on stage. More time passed, we survived that weird font craze of the 80s, and the folks who got things started were getting grayer. And by 1999, it was time to take more pictures of men in neckties holding shovels. But this time it was for a new gymnasium, a kitchen, a dozen more classrooms, and a giant youth area complete with a VW van. It was a front-wheel drive model. They did it. Everything they set out to do in the 1960s, they did it. And we're still at it now. And when you realize that you've put your preacher's office down the parking lot next to Dog Food Plus, it slowly starts to sink in. This is a big part of who we are. Just ask Charlie Mahaffey. Charlie served as an elder here for over 30 years. And before that, we have photographic evidence that he was the handsomest buck this side of the Mississippi. Ask Charlie Mahaffey what's the greatest accomplishment at Park Plaza in the years you were an elder, and listen to the first thing that comes to his mind. It's not evangelism. It's not feeding the poor.
I thought one of our major blessings has been the completion of the latest wing on our building and having the building debt-free, whereby we could devote more time and money to local works, to mission work, to benevolent needs. And this was a gift from the good Lord that we were able to pay off our loans and debts.
It's beautiful, really, in a linoleum brick kind of way, with giant cartoon heads in the hallway and doormats that 8-year-old boys think are hilarious. We spend so much time telling ourselves that the building is not important, but that's not what he taught us. Those weren't his words. Rewind. Go back and look again at the man in the fedora laying bricks. Those aren't just rows of cinder blocks behind him. It's going to be the liveliest part of our building, our hallway, where friendships and lunch plans are made and children learn how to hide from us. And that's not just I-beams and concrete. It's the beginning of our children's ministry, where for the past 50 years, young lives and old diapers have been changed. And on that dedication Sunday in 1966, there they were on the 4th row, Flora and Roland Bustring, surrounded by men and women who knew that God did not want this church to be about bank loans or carpet or concrete or fixtures or chandeliers. This church was going to be about windows. Windows to a town that we would reach out to with gospel meetings in the 1960s, to a tabernacle with a built-in gift shop today. From the moment we were bringing people into this building, we were sending them back out. Sometimes it was right down the street to that little school that we never really left, Key Elementary, one of our best friends in town. And when you understand that, then Charlie Mahaffey's gymnasium starts to come into focus, because Charlie doesn't see a basketball goal. Charlie sees a basketball goal that's paid for and taken care of. Charlie sees an extra plane ticket to Haiti. The rest of us see a nice church kitchen. Charlie sees a kitchen in the Dominican Republic that finally got the supplies that it needed. And this is not just an arcade for our kids. It means there's a kid on the mission field whose parents can afford a front lawn for him to play in. And this is not the door to our parking lot. It's a door to Africa. Africa, where the public schools will shut down to listen to an Oklahoma preacher. Where the churches are growing so fast, don't be surprised if you see these kids come here someday to teach us how to grow a church. It's a door to Honduras. Honduras is a place that likes to build as much as we do. We go there, we sing joyful songs, we bruise joyful thumbs, and we teach young children the fine art of American photobombing. It's a window to Eastern Europe, from a tiny church in Zagreb trying to get the word out to Croatia, to a big success in the Ukraine, where now they're building churches on their own. And it's a door to Holly Grove in New Orleans, where we send our members not by the dozens, but by the hundreds, to join them in song and just lend a hand wherever we can.
Over 700 books we brought from Tulsa.
In just the past 8 years, the Park Plaza Church of Christ has donated over $5 million to any door that God would open for us, and this is the return on investment.
We just remembering. We just remembering. We just remembering. We just remembering.
If you want to understand the Park Plaza Church of Christ, you need to do two things. Number one, look at this picture. There are 3 faces in this picture. Only 2 of them are cute. Look at the least cute face. This is a man who could have spent his vacation on the other side of Haiti where the cruise ships come in. Instead, he spent it here. Second, take a look at the church hard drive of photographs and double-click on any folder that says missions. You know what you'll see? They're smiling. Everybody's smiling. Hot or cold, clean or dirty, it doesn't matter which decade, they're smiling. Stuck in a supply closet in Belize, they're smiling. On a muddy road in Honduras, still smiling. Hand-washing their own clothes, and they're smiling. Now, why would 2 women who've seen the worst that Hurricane Katrina can dish out stop what they're doing, look ahead, and smile? It's simple. The smile didn't start there. It started here, back on this side of the door. Look at these pictures. This is not some posed camera cliche. There's a lesson in this for all of us. Stop what you're doing. Lean in. Hold on to someone you love. And smile. You can see it in the way we welcome each other. In our women's ministry, it's with beauty, design, and decoration. And in our men's ministry, it's with wadded napkins, quick trip cups, shiny bald spots, and ugly gym shorts. But both our men and our women are saying the same thing. That we will enter his gates with thanksgiving in our heart and dessert in our belly. And with those 2 fuel sources, the men and women of this church go through the next door, up a flight of stairs, past the ugly deer head, to our youth. Since the early 70s, when Dick Roby started hauling our teenagers all over the country, our young people have given us an energy that has lasted for decades. An energy that we wish we had.
Oh! Oh, it's almost off! Oh!
Yank it!
And decision-making skills that we're glad we've outgrown.
Oh! How much hair did I lose?
But when you get past the messy cabins and the involuntary face painting and the weird dancing, you see it. Right here. A bunch of junior high girls willing to jump into the cold when most of us would stand on the dock with our arms crossed. It's watching them learn how to keep everything in balance no matter how crazy life gets. And it's their lesson to us that when there's a job to be done, you're better off doing it with a friend. Sometimes it's going up a mountainside in Montana. Sometimes it's going down a basement in Massachusetts. But if you really want to feel the breath of God, then go with our young people through their door and watch how our young people treat our youngest people, our children. It's teenagers who can really show our children God's love firsthand. Show them God's providence firsthand. And show them God's sense of humor firsthand. And it's that wide-eyed sense of wonder that makes us feel like we've got one of the best children's ministries in the country. A place where kids can blow things up, make silly faces, and eat messy foods. And climb. But you know, climbing is the easy part. The hard part is getting to the top and realizing that there's nobody there. And that's why we think it's worth it to paint an amazing mural of an ocean, even if it gets lost behind the cartoon pelican, because it just might lead one of these kids to take God's word overseas. It's worth it to stay up all night painting cardboard, because that yellow brick road just might lead someone down a dusty road in South Africa, or a back alley in Honduras, or a weird traffic jam in the Dominican Republic. And that's why we'll travel by the hundreds to watch our children recite memory verses so we can bring them back to a church home where we believe every word of it. Park Plaza Church of Christ, we no longer build auditoriums, we build training grounds. We don't believe in steeples, we believe in launch pads. And when a little boy in Houston wants to show us his muscles, we'll show him ours too. And let him know that the history of this church has only begun, that we can do more, and with God's providence, we will do more. To those of you who got things rolling, and to those of you who've been here for the long haul, we thank you. And to those who left too soon, we still miss you. To the rest of us, from Zagreb to Broken Arrow, from Venda to Owasso, you're part of a pretty cool group. A place where a chairman of the board can scrape a ceiling in Brazil or a 12-year-old boy can organize a food drive. But it doesn't matter how God got you here. It matters that you're here. You're His. And almost as importantly, you're ours. So that when the people of this world see the intersection of 51st and Sheridan, they see the intersection of heaven and earth. That's the church we want to be.
Christ we do all adore.